Welcome to the game room.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. All right, it's time to do the killers. Michael Myers is kind of what we're going for. He has always been a favorite of mine. Loved the Halloween series. The biggest thing on him is his coveralls, which based off the picture you just saw, is a very dark blue. Um, his skin, his hair, and the mask being the biggest thing other than his boots. So that mask we're going to do in a bright white, but to get that dark blue, I went with the Vallejo Prussian blue. Probably could have used one of the contrast paints. I just mixed it with contrast medium. Any dark blue works. I just did this one just because I like this color actually, and I thought it would look really good. We're actually going to come back later and put a wash on top of this and really kind of give it that dark and dingy look that Michael Myers has. But this is there you go with the blue dome. But this is one of the kits where you can build, the killer with different weapons and different heads. So of course, go with Michael Myers first. So to do his skin, just did a tanned flesh, and of course we'll come back later with a heavy wash of the flesh wash to, again, it's not like he's showered anytime recently. So you want it to be, he's the killer from Halloween. It's going to be dirty. It's going to be dingy. And we want that look. When you go around the mask, try to just keep it on the skin. Try not to get his mask. If you do, just come back with the gray sear and tidy up the mask. It'll just make the white go on a little easier if there's nothing underneath it but the gray sear. All right, Dark Oath Flesh contrast paint. This is just for the handle of the knife. You could use any brown that you like. Just try to mix it up a little bit from my standard washes or my standard contrast paints that I use for the browns, which tend to be Agros Dune, Skeleton Horde, and Snakebite Leather are probably the ones that I have to keep replacing because I use them so much. So it's just, for the handle of the knife. Use whatever color you like. All right, Black Templar. This for his boots, and standard killer boots are always black, right? Whatever. You can use a dark brown. I thought the black looked really good with the blue and fit the color scheme that I was looking for. Again, the Black Templar contrast, as with all the contrast, get it on there, move it around. If you get too much, it's a very thin paint, and that's what the contrast paints are. They're very thin, but they do great for highlighting, shading, and painting all in one step. All right, another contrast paint here, Fire Slayer Flesh. This is for the hair. The contrast paints, as you've watched any of the other videos in this series, you've heard me talk about them. They're great for hair, for fur, things like that. Just because it sits down in the right recesses so well, makes the hair dark, but leaves the higher points highlighted. So if you look at, natural hair, it does have that. It's darker underneath. It's a little lighter on top where the light hits it, and contrast paints work really, really well for that.
Come on, gents. It's grown-up time. Drones can't
All right, the gunmetal silver. You could use a different silver if you like. I like the gunmetal because it's a little darker and dingier. Just for the blade of the knife. Be careful with the blade. You don't want to get it on his hand because his hand is like right up against the blade. And don't forget the top. So there's kind of like three sides because it comes down to a point. or a sharp edge actually on the bottom there. So just make sure you get it all the way around, not too much. All right, let's go back and wash the flesh. We're going to use the standard flesh wash, and make sure you get the back of his neck, around the mask, and his hands. And we're going to have to make sure that we let this dry completely before we come back and work on that mask. As mentioned earlier, we're going to use the dark tone wash. Null oil would do very similar. And we're going to put this on pretty heavily onto his coverall to give it that dark, dingy, dirty look that Michael Myers has in the picture that we showed. Again, you don't want to get too much, so if you'll notice, I am actually using a bigger brush because it's such a large area than my standard Army Painter brush that you've seen in all the other videos. But again, don't get too much on there. Let it sit down in the recesses to how you like it, and if you get too much, wipe the brush off, dab it into that spot so that you can pull that excess away from the model. Uniform gray. This, we're just going to do a quick dry brush over his shoes, just to, take that, give him that dirty, roughed up look. To do a dry brush, you want a stiff brush. Army Painter makes some that are called dry brushes, but it's got very stiff bristles. You're going to put some paint onto the brush, and then you're going to wipe most of it off on a paper towel like you just saw. And once most of it's gone, you're going to very quickly, move it back and forth across the model of where you're wanting the pigment to go, and it'll pick up on the highlights, or it'll pick up on the high points like the shoelaces or the side of the shoe or anything like that, and it'll create natural scuff marks, which is really cool. Okay, now let's do the mask. So use your white paint, because if you've seen the picture up at the front, the mask is white. And make sure your white is thin. You don't want it gloopy or gloppy. I just use Vallejo white. You can use any white that you like. Be very careful here and take your time on this mask. You don't want to get it on the skin that you've already done. And just very gently, just very slowly, take your time, because this is what everybody will recognize. This is what everybody's going to see. When they look at this model, they're going to see, ooh, mask, Michael Myers. Okay, this last part had me a little concerned, mainly because I had finished the model, I'd based him, we'd actually already played a game with him, and as I was putting this video together, I looked back at the picture, I said, you know what, his mask is just too white for the effect I'm going for. I'm trying to make it kind of look like the picture, so my concern was, how do I dirty the mask without destroying it? And still keeping the white. So a black dry brush. So I just used a flat black, got almost all the paint off, and light dry brush over the mask. And it came out pretty well. So here's the final, and here's what we were going for. And let's take a look at them side by side. You tell me, guys, how'd we do? I think he came out pretty well. All things considered, I mean, for a very quick, simple paint job, he looks like Michael Myers. Guys, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Was I way off the mark here? Did I nail it? Subscribe, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I appreciate you watching. Again, tabletop standards, what we're going for here. 3 feet away, they look good. Thanks for watching, and appreciate it. Have a great day.